energy in this room. But first of all, thanks a lot for what Suraj said. Without your support, we would have never been where we are in India. I joined Dell 8 years ago, and IDC never even used to have us in the first 5 years. In a period of 8 years, Dell has moved from being nowhere to being number one on PCs, whether it is on the consumer side or on the public or the large enterprise or global accounts, and also on the server side. So again, thanks a lot for all the support that you've given. And thanks a lot for, again, all the feedback that all of you have given us. The most important thing that I have learned over the last 4 or 5 years is that this transformation journey that Dell is on today is not because one day Michael woke up and said, you know what, we need to go acquire companies because we have a lot of cash. Right? We have $20 billion of cash. So Michael woke up 4 years ago and said, you know what, let's go buy companies. No. We were listening to all of you telling us that it's not about the shiny box. Right? It's not about what speed that server is going to work on, or what gigahertz is the speed of that desktop or notebook processor. And by the way, we are very proud of our heritage of being, first being only direct with our customers, being very proud of the fact that we were the first company to have built a $40, $50 billion business completely on the direct business. But you guys, all of the customers, gave us feedback saying this is not scalable. And we have transformed over the last few years, over the last 3-4 years especially, into a company which is trying to bring solutions through a go-to-market channel which may be direct, which may be indirect, or which may be through SIs. Because that's based on feedback that all of you gave us. And I'm extremely proud of this transformation because it is based on research, it is based on feedback that all of you have given us. And we're going to talk a little bit about that through the course of the day today. But what I wanted to check with all of you before I move on any further is these priorities. And there'll be a lot of interaction in this session, by the way. It's a 20-minute session, but there'll be a lot of interaction in this session. I'm not going to read the stuff that is over here. But by a show of hands, can someone tell me how many of you identify with what is written on the left-hand side as the priorities for all of you? Okay. So I see one hand. I see one hand which says that he sees the left-hand side as his priorities. That's okay. How many of you see the right-hand side as your priorities? Okay. How many of you have seen TV shows where they show about extreme makeovers? Have you heard of extreme makeovers? You go in looking like someone and you come out of that session looking like someone completely different. Right? They change the way you dress, they change the way they look, they change the way your hair was and everything, and you come out looking completely different. This is the time for all of us to have that extreme makeover. Believe you me. Whether you are a CEO, whether you are a CIO, a CTO, anything which starts with a C and ends with an O, this is the time for an extreme makeover. And why do I say that? Especially in the context of CIOs. Here's a conversation that I'll play for you. 8 months ago, one of the businesses that I was talking to was going through a big turmoil. The market was looking like it's going to go south. The outlook from the business was absolutely dismal for the rest of the year. So the business head of that particular business came to the CIO and said, the business outlook is looking really, really bad for the next 6 months. I need you to cut 30% of your budget that you were planning to spend in the next 6 months. Is that a normal occurrence? Is that something that is normal? No? Yes? Is it normal or no? Okay. At least I've seen that as a normal occurrence in the business. Maybe 30% is an exaggeration, maybe 10%, right? Now, the same business manager or the CEO went to the business head who was running, or the LOB manager who was running the business, and said, you know what, you've got to recover your outlook for the next 6 months significantly. And he said, you know what, I need some really important business intelligence tool to be able to make that happen on the go and on the fly. So he says, I need help from IT to be able to put that in place. So this LOB manager goes to the IT head and says, I need this help. And he says, no, sorry, my budget's been cut. I can't do anything. Now, so this business manager or this LOB manager actually goes outside, and these are nowadays you'll find business managers are very tech savvy. He goes out in the marketplace and buys a business intelligence tool on the cloud and implements it on his own, from his own budgets. Is that a normal thing that you've seen in your organizations? Is that something that happens in your organizations? Where business is building a shadow IT organization or a shadow application organization because IT doesn't have the budgets to do that. And that's why I think it's really, really important that in this new environment, CIOs start looking at extreme makeovers where they are starting to focus their attention on how they can build more agility within the smaller budgets that they have. How can they build more responsiveness within the current business environments that are taking place? And how can they, for example, in that scenario you saw the business going down, but if the business was going up, how can they scale their IT tools and applications for the business in a way where it is in line with how the business is moving? So it's going to be really important about moving away from the speeds and the feeds to being relevant for business over the next several years as far as CIOs and CTOs are concerned. We're going to focus on 3 areas today. We're going to focus on the area of consumerization of IT. And we're going to focus on how do we build agility through the cloud, and how do we manage IT more efficiently so that we have more money for business innovation. Those are the 3 things that we're going to focus on today. Now, our principle, as we got feedback from all of you, in terms of building our solutions journey or transformation journey, has been about moving on this based on 3 very simple design tenets. How can I be open so that you don't get locked into one proprietary stack? How can I build something which is capable to manage the problem that you're trying to solve and that is not over or under spec? So it's just right and optimal. And as a result of being open and capable, or just open and capable, it is affordable. Those are the 3 tenets that we used our solutions journey, in the beginning of our solutions journey 3 or 4 years ago, to design this transformation. It was about moving away from proprietary stacks, moving away from getting you locked into one stack, which then locks you in not just for that particular time, but for the future. And in that context, with those design tenets in mind, we're going to talk a little bit about how we can create a differentiation through this whole trend of consumerization of IT, how we can manage our environments better through the whole area of cloud, and how we can manage our entire environment of IT in a very efficient manner so that we have more money to innovate when the business needs it. Those are the three areas that we're going to focus our attention on. Now let's look at consumerization of IT. And let me ask you a few questions here so that we can make this a little more interactive. How many of you allow for tablets in your organizations for a mobile employee to use as the mode of communication within the organization? Okay? I see around 4 hands, maybe 5, 6. So we have what? Approximately 150 people in the room? I'm assuming close to 100 organizations in the room. So at this point in time, I'm seeing around 6 or 7 of you saying that you allow tablets in your organization as a mode of communication. How many of your organizations, and again by a show of hands, how many organizations have more than 25% of their workforce as mobile? When I say mobile, I mean people who are all in the field, who don't sit in one place. Okay? So that seems like around 25 to 30, maybe more, 25 to 30 of you. And that is a reality. If you were to go back 3 years, there were close to, and this is an IDC study. I'm not quoting these numbers from my own, I'm not making up these numbers. IDC quoted a simple thing, that by 2013, 35% of the workforce in the world will be mobile, up from a little less than 20% 3 years ago. That's how fast this mobility trend is happening. And when a workforce is mobile, it needs tools and solutions which it can use to be connected with their organizations whichever way they like. The other trend that you will notice is the trend of knowledge workers. So you have mobility as a big trend. Another trend is a lot more of the organization's workforce today are people who are a lot more savvy on technology, a lot more savvy on the business side, and consider themselves as knowledge workers. Retaining those folks who think they have better technology than what the IT department is giving them is a very, very important part of an organization's priorities. And I think this consumerization of IT is about sitting down as an IT organization and saying, am I going to resist this trend, or am I going to accept that this is happening and sit down and figure out what is going to be my strategy to ensure that I don't have a security problem, to ensure that I have applications which work across multiple OS environments, to sit down and figure out what I will allow, which workers will I allow what kind of devices for, to sit down and understand, should I or should I not allow a BYOD strategy within my organization. Embrace it. I think the important message here is, let's embrace that, sit down with our organizations, sit down with our business folks, and say, what do you need? What do you need to make this happen? Because this is going to happen whether you like it or not. The big difference between 5 years ago or even 10 years ago and now is that the average worker is a lot more tech savvy than he was 10 years ago. In fact, he's sometimes more tech savvy than the IT folks. So he's going to put that pressure on you anyways. The better thing is to embrace it. The second thing you will note is this whole area of social media. It's a very interesting area. The last time I read about Facebook, the average Facebook user spends 24 hours a month on Facebook. Okay? The average age of a Facebook user is between the age of 18 to 24. It's very interesting. So a lot of them are working. And then, a lot of the people who are older than 24 actually don't accept the fact that they use Facebook. But they actually do. I'm 45, I use Facebook a lot. Okay? Now you can accept the fact that people are using Facebook and say, let me see how can I use that tool to enhance my business. Or you can say, this is a big security risk, I'm not going to allow people to use Facebook. Now in Dell, for example, what we said was, if you can't beat them, join them. Okay? So we did a very simple thing. We started a campaign in Dell for getting certified as a social media and a social media community certified user. So we would call in these folks who we thought were very strong social media users, for Chatter or for Twitter or for Facebook. We call them in and we would give them training and help them understand how they can become more responsible and then spread that message in the organization. But we allowed pretty much all social media within Dell. We allow every social media site pretty much to be used within Dell by our folks. And what has that done for us? If you go to Twitter and you go to #DellCares, that's our tech support and customer care Twitter ID. We have conversations with 10,000 customers every day on Twitter. And these are customers who are angry with us. These are customers who are really, really angry with us. These are customers who are happy with us. And they are writing to us, and there is somebody sitting there who's writing back to them and basically responding to them. We do a survey called the Net Promoter Score, which is called loyalty, right? It measures the amount of loyalty that a customer has with Dell. Believe you me, we've been able to convert 35 to 40% of the very, very angry and the very angry customers who come on Twitter and make them into promoters through this initiative. So again, the message really over here is embrace this trend and figure out ways in which you can, if you can't beat them, join them. And when you start thinking in that light, what you see is an area where we start seeing the advantages of all these big IT trends or big technology trends that we are seeing, which seem on the surface of it, they seem like consumer things. They seem like areas which a typical CIO should not be worried about, or a typical IT guy should not be worried about. But if it is about the slide that we showed right up front, if you are towards the right of that slide, then that is something that you need to go and embrace. The cloud. A lot has been talked about the cloud. Again, let me just take a simple poll here. How many of you are considering moving your ERP to the cloud? How many of you have moved your email to the cloud? Okay, so we've got 6, 7. Can you put on the lights? It's a little difficult to see. So how many of you moved your email to the cloud? Excellent, excellent. How many of you moved your CRM to the cloud? Okay, so 4. How many of you moved BI to the cloud? Business intelligence. Okay, 1. And there is not a single person who's considering or wanting to move ERP to the cloud. Okay, interesting. And this is sorry?
Security concerns are there.
I'm sorry, security concerns are there. Right. And I understand that, right? If you sit down and there are, every IT company worth its salt is talking about the cloud. Every IT company is talking about the cloud. And did you see the response over here for people really, really moving to the cloud? There were probably 15 to 20 people who have moved email to the cloud, and there are probably 4 who moved CRM to the cloud. Right? Now, how many of you think cloud means public cloud? Right. 1. Because I think, one of the things that people tend to confuse here is this And I'm not preaching here because most of you are probably more technologically savvy than I am. But I think moving an application to the cloud does not necessarily mean it needs to go to the public cloud, right? Moving an application to the cloud could mean as simple as aggressive virtualization within your organization on-premise, building a private cloud which then you can use to provision your applications or provision your virtual machines to your business in a way which is a lot more flexible and agile versus what you were doing 3 or 4 years ago. So I think this is a step-by-step process. This is a process where you need to start looking at what are some of those areas in your organization which need the maximum amount of agility. Which are those businesses which need the maximum amount of flexibility? What applications or what tools do those very highly flexible and agile organizations need? And how I, as an IT organization, can help provision those applications and tools in a way where the organization, the business side, can respond to their market needs quickly. I think that's the business problem we're trying to solve with the cloud. Now, of course, if you want to move some of the stuff to the public cloud, the idea there really is about making sure that you are becoming more cost effective, right? And I understand completely there is a security concern, right? There was a security concern, and I'm a simple sort of a guy, guys. You probably would have noticed this by now. Security concerns were there, 10 years ago when we used to do hosting or rental for data center in a hosting site. People would lock. People would have cages, server cages. Do you remember that? Right? That was the physical security that was there. Today we moved from that physical security to an era where we are comfortable saying I can share, I can be in a public cloud in a multi-tenant environment for at least some of my basic applications like email. Right? So this transition is going to happen. The question is, how do you move from being an inflexible organization to being more and more flexible for your business with maybe a very aggressive private cloud offering, and then start considering applications which you think you can move to the public. Now in our case, in Dell, what we have very, very clearly done, as you probably noticed in the first few videos, is that we went in for a 30-to-1 consolidation. We removed close to 6,000 servers from our system, from our IT organization. And we have now close to 11 to 12,000 virtual machines being used by our businesses at any point in time. Now the proof of the pudding is in actually doing it ourselves, right? So all the stuff that you will hear about through the rest of the afternoon is stuff that we have actually put into practice in our organization. Another aspect which is very, very important when you move to the cloud is how do you link your application to the database which is on-premise, right? So we saw that need and we were cloud offering, and then start considering applications which you think you can move to the public. Now in our case, in Dell, what we have very, very clearly done, as you probably noticed in the first few videos, is that we went in for a 30-to-1 consolidation. We removed close to 6,000 servers from our system, from our IT organization. And we have now close to 11 to 12,000 virtual machines being used by our businesses at any point in time. Now the proof of the pudding is in actually doing it ourselves, right? So all the stuff that you will hear about through the rest of the afternoon is stuff that we have actually put into practice in our organization. Another aspect which is very, very important when you move to the cloud is how do you link your application to the database which is on-premise, right? So we saw that need and we bought this company called Boomi recently, which basically helps you do this interconnect between your database or your applications on-premise and the applications that you move to the cloud, so that you have a secure way of managing that. We've also invested a lot in our managed security and cloud offerings from a security perspective, and we'll talk about those towards the course of the day. We've also invested in, like Suraj said, our medical archiving solutions on the cloud with our purchase of a company called InsightOne. We've also, obviously bought software companies which help in building a software which can manage a aggressively virtualized private cloud environment. And that's called our virtual infrastructure service or software, Viz. And that can help you provision VMs very quickly, see what VMs are out there, capture that, and be in a position to manage that in a more flexible manner. So cloud is an important aspect, but cloud is also something that we need to be clear on what that journey is. I'm going to go through the next few slides very quickly. Just wanted to spend more time on those things. So it's going to be very important to understand that no one company has been able to do innovation and transform the universe. Okay? So when we say open, what we really mean is being in a position to help you innovate with all the various technologies that you have and be in a position to manage and get the returns that you need from the investments that you've already done versus coming in and telling you, you need to rip and replace this, and here is the new proprietary stack that can replace that. So innovation is about being in a position to understand how you can reduce or improve your efficiency so that you have more dollars or more rupees to invest in innovation. And finally, like we said, we've been making these strategic investments. Over the last 1 year or so, we made $1 billion of investments in new technology services and solution centers around the world. We've acquired, like Suraj said, 19 new companies in various domains. And we've partnered with industry leaders also in various areas. In fact, in the last month or so, we've acquired 2 more companies called AppAssure in the backup and recovery area. And in the security area, we acquired SonicWall. Vertically relevant solutions, and you'll find a lot more happening on the healthcare side that we've done there. And of course, we want to make sure that we can sit down with each one of you and have a deeper relationship. Finally, in terms of your organization's transformation partner, we would like to believe that we can help you sit down and build a consumerization strategy, help you understand how you should be migrating to a private and a public cloud, and sit down and work that through together with you. And finally, build an open, capable, and an affordable data center which can release dollars for you to be able to innovate for your business. Thank you very much.